Hello? Testing, one, two, three. Testing, one, two, three.
Good day, everyone. As we are about to begin today's program, I have a few reminders to make. Firstly, to keep the quality of sound functional during the meeting, kindly mute yourself when the presenters are delivering their presentation. If you have any question during the presentation, please type them into the Q&A box. We will also have time for questions at the end. Thank you for your kind cooperation and attention. Assalamualaikum and a very good day. Welcome to International Webinar IT Ethical Issue, Perspective and Reality. I am Aina Nazaha and I will be your MC for today. To begin with, we would like to invite Head of Leadership and Student Development, Dr. Anwar Ali, to give a welcoming speech. Please welcome.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to the distinguished delegates, the NetCom Club Advisor, Dr. Musin Hatta, respected guests, Dr. M. Rajkumar, the Principal of JP College of Engineering, welcome. ICT 652 Advisor, Professor Matiati S. Dr. Wan Abdul Rahim, Wan Muhammad Isa, speakers, Zuhairi Mazlan, Azwani Hamdan, Muhammad Shahril Abdul Aziz, thank you for participating. Members of NetCom, my dear students, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, I would like to personally express my sincere appreciation to all of you who generously materialized this event of the International Webinar IT Ethical Issues, Perspective and Reality to Become Success. I do thank the JP College of Engineering for this leadership and also recognize the UITM as a partnership to these wonderful collaborations in co-organizing this event, and they were always more than happy and ready to lend their support in making this event a success. Congratulations. I hope this first ever collaboration will be continued to serve as the best platform for sharing innovation, knowledge, and also expertise. To the distinguished participants, we are living in the world where everyone is being surrounded by internet connectivity, mobile phone consumption, social media engagement, algorithm, internet is everywhere and anywhere. So I personally think this is one of the best platform for you to learn about IT and ethical issues. So this is the best platform for identifying lessons learned and best practices on the importance of IT and ethical issues. With that, I wish you all the best, and I wish you all a fruitful discussion and exchange, and also an insightful dialogue. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Anwar Ali, for the heartwarming speech just now. Now, without further ado, we will turn the time over to Zulhelmi bin Mazlan to give his presentation about international intellectual property issues. Please welcome.
Hello and a very good morning to my fellow student over there. My name is Zulhelmi Mazlan, and for my topic, I'll be presenting about international intellectual property issues. Without further ado, let's first look at the introduction of international intellectual property. So, what is intellectual property? So, we know that the term property refers to an ownership, but what about intellectual? So, the term intellectual is used to portray the involvement of human imagination, creativity, and inventiveness. What is intellectual property? Well, it is a legal right related to a form of an idea or any other intangible subject matter. So, which intellectual property in place, it allows its owner, the owner of the intellectual property, to exert exclusive control over the use of the intellectual property. Now, let's briefly look at 5 types of intellectual property. So the first one is patent. So patent is an exclusive right given for an invention that is a product of a technique that offer a new approach or a new perspective to a new technical solution to a problem. And which patent protection of exclusiveness of the owner's invention from being manufactured by others without the owner consent. So when there is a patent, others products can imitate or copy the patent. So what the owner of the patent can do? So the owner of patent has the right to license it to other parties or use the invention and even sell the right to others, which will then become the new owner of that patent. The next intellectual property, I think this is one of the most well-known one. It is copyright. So copyright is an exclusive right that are applied to individual who create original content. Now, the term original content here refer to work of arts such as music, videos, or any other form of art. So the owner of copyright works can reproduce the work in any form, perform show, playing it to the public, distribute it, sell it, or even rent it to the public. So we often hear about copyright infringement. So it happened when an authorized person tried to use the copyrighted works without the owner's permission. Now, when we talk about trademark, we always see that logos are used everywhere in a certain product. So take for example Nike or Adidas. When we see that the logo is on that product, we instantly know that that product is belong to this company. So, but a trademark is not solely based on logo. It can be words, pictures, names, or even combination of any of these. So, but to make a trademark, it have to be a unique name, logo, symbol, slogan associated with that company goods. So, the purpose of trademark is to separate one trader's product or services from those of another. And the rights of using trademark are only given to the trademark owner so that they can use it in their trade. The fourth one is industrial design. So basically, in an aesthetic aspect of an article. So take for example, shape or configuration, or even two-dimensional element such as pattern and also decoration. And owner of industrial design have the rights to make, import, sell, or even rent out any item to which the design has been applied. So the design itself belong to the owner, but the products could belong to another person. But that person have to have permission from the design owner. So the last type we will looking at is trade secret. So trade secret is information that is crucial to the success of a business that is need to be kept confidential. So some of the example are patent, formula, device, idea, process, or any other information that give the owner competitive advantage in the marketplace. So basically, it's akin to a secret sauce. So when a business have this hidden information, it cannot be leaked out to other person because it will give that person, it will null the competitive advantage that the trade secret owner have. So now let's look at some example of international cases regarding intellectual property. So case one is about Apple and Samsung. So these giant titans back in the earliest day have argued a little bit. So what happened is in 2007, the first iPhone came out with a touchscreen device. So it was revolutionary to say at that time. But forward 2 years later, Samsung unveiled their new product, which also a touchscreen device, but running on Google Android system. So when this happened, Apple at first didn't file a lawsuit against Samsung, but rather tried to propose a deal, which is Samsung have to pay Apple on selling every Samsung smartphone and tablet. Since the iPhone is the first device to come out with a touchscreen device. So Samsung declined that proposal and reversed the licensing agreement by stating that Apple is the one who are copying them. Some of the patent Apple had claimed are the visual, the looks of the product, the apps icon, the front button, and other basic features of the iPhone. So it is interesting how modern smartphone today is expected to have these features, but back in the earliest days, Apple file a lawsuit against Samsung because copying them. Other than that, Apple also claimed that functions such as tap to zoom, home screen app grid, and other basic function of a smartphone was originally theirs. So the end of this case is that the jury decided Apple have the rights to the case and ultimately awarded the company with grand amount of money. The case between Apple and Samsung finally ended in 2018 after a long-running series of lawsuits between these two companies. Now let's look at the second case, which is Oracle versus Google. So Oracle is a company that sells software or IT infrastructure, and it is most well known because they own the Java programming language. So what happened in this case is that Oracle argues that part of Java programming language API or application programming interface and some of its source code that is used by Google are copyrightable. So back in around 2005, Google creates its own Android platform independently, and to aid Java programmers at that time, Google copied about 1,000 lines of code from Java API. When Oracle acquired the Sun company in 2008, 2010, which means that the Java programming language that belonged to Sun system back in the early days is now owned by Oracle. Oracle filed a case for copyright infringement against Google because using the Java API in their Android platform. But at last, the jury decided that the case of Google was a fair use. That's all for my presentation. I'll be opening up a slot for asking any question. If you have any question, please voice your question or type in the chat, or you can scan the QR code in the screen.
Okay, it's like there are a few questions. The first question is, can original word be parodied?
Uh, the question is, can original work be parodied? Is that the question?
Yes, true.
So based on the research that I did, a fair use of a copyright work is allowed, but only for purposes such as criticism or comment. So a parody in that case is a fair use of a copyrighted work, but only when it is a commentary or literary criticism. But there is no clear line to distinguish between a works that is a parody or work that is infringement that have copyright infringement. So to a better way to distinguish them is to determine whether is to consult a person or an attorney. So in this case, it's copyright attorney to determine whether that parody work is allowed or not. Does that answer the question?
Yes, I think it answered the question. Okay, for the next question, how the Google won the case?
I'm sorry.
How the Google won the case?
How Google won the case against Oracle company, right?
Yes.
So based on the chronological history, the jury decided that the use of Java programming API language is fair use, since the back in the day when Google used it, the Sun Microsystem did file a lawsuit against Google for using it. So when the ownership of Java language transferred to Oracle and they copyright it, the jury decided that it was a fair use of that. But it is interesting to see now that Google is moving from using Java as a programming language to Kotlin in the modern day. So Google referred that Kotlin is the future of programming for their platform. Uh, that's
Thank you for the answer. The next question is, how to register for international intellectual property rights?
what is the question?
How to register for international intellectual property rights?
How to reduce?
Register
How to register?
for international intellectual property rights.
So there, as I mentioned, there are few types of intellectual property. But if you are from, it basically came down to where you came from. So if from in Malaysia, we have our own body to handle all this copyright. But even with that in place, there's still counterfeit or imitation of products. As you can see, like even product like Adidas, Nike have their own counterfeit. But when it involved in the, let's say, in the country, if you try to copy a product, the body of the responsible body of that country will take care of the copyright infringement or anything that involve patent. But when it came to international, such as online shopping, for example, you export counterfeit product from others country, it will be a problem. So the answer that I will give is not a very good answer, but it came down to it depend on the responsible body of your government. Does that answer the question?
Okay, that answered the question. For the next question is, Can blockchain be used to protect intellectual property?
So I'm not an expert in blockchain, but I try to give my own opinion. So as far as I know, blockchain is a way of basically preserving or encrypting information. So what is the question is what future blockchain hold? Is that it? What is the question?
The question is that
What?
the question I think the question had been missing.
Oh, yeah. Uh,
Yeah.
I remembered about blockchain. So how can blockchain help the intellectual property? Is that kind of question?
Yes, true.
So I don't know how blockchain work, but I know the purpose of it. So it is to basically to protect data from being changed. So in this case, I don't think there is any ways of using blockchain, but I'm open up to people correcting me if that is wrong. This intellectual property is by itself only the right to protect the work, the original work of owner. But let's say if the agreement itself is in the blockchain, so people cannot change that as they will. Only the authoritative can change it. I hope that answered the question. If so, if there is no question, I'll be passing up you to Aina. Thank you.
Thank you, Zahelmi, for sharing the international intellectual property issues. Next, I call upon the second presenter, Hazwani binti Hamdan, to deliver her presentation about social media ethical issues. Please welcome.
Hi and hello everyone. Every good morning to everybody out there. So my name is Hazwani binti Hamdan. Today I would like to share to you about social media ethical issues. So the content that I would like to share basically the definition, pros and cons of social media, views of ethical behavior, how to stay ethical in social media, primary criteria of ethical, and lastly issues of 13 May 1969. Okay, I believe that everybody being socialized today, uh, you guys have interact with everybody, with your friends, with your family, even with your lecturer. So let me see what is social. Social is refers to the instinctual needs humans have to interact with other people. Just like I say, you interact with everybody, with your friends, with your family. Next is media. Media is a tool that store and deliver data and information. Or in a short word, media is what we use to make connection with other people. Social media is a website or application that allows to create and share content or to participate in social networking. For example, I believe that every one of you, every one of us, even me, have updated on status about this forum today. So that website is the social media that we use to create and share content. Next is social networking. Social networking to create a public profile in particular website, making relationship with people who use the same website. SNS is referred to social network service. Is an online platform to build social networks and relationship with other who share similar like career content, interests and activities, background and real life connections. Let me see what the use of social media. Basically, social media allows people to keep in touch with family and friends. It's either the friends from international or in the same country. You can connect. You can connect with them through social media, and hence it allows people to participate in social networking. Let's see types of social media like photo and video sharing, social networks, social gaming, and blogging. The target social media network as usual that we use Facebook, Messenger, WhatsApp, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok. Social media, of course, have pros and cons. Let we see the pros first. The first one is worldwide connectivity. It exchange information or news, get updated anytime and anywhere. Hence, it build a new friendship or environment with new people. This connection helps seeking a new job. For example, you like finding a job through LinkedIn or JobStreet, and then receiving support from like-minded individuals and finding romance. Secondly, real-time information sharing. Exchange information easily in real time via a chat, and internet being our ultimate online textbook. Lastly, through social media, we know everything. I mean, we know about the news. We stay up to date. We know about the news, what happening in our country or industry. Hence, we know regarding latest issue that happen in our own country or other. The cons, the first one is social media can decrease our communication skills because we interact with people through virtual, which means no voice and no reaction. It makes people less empathetic towards others. Secondly, cyber attacks are becoming more prevalent in today's world, like cyber bullying and identity theft. Lastly, it leads to health problem, can cause sleeplessness, occurs back pain, reduced sense of sight, headache, and many more. Now we take a look on what is ethic. Ethic, as we know, a code of moral standard to decide is either the thing that we do good or bad. What is ethical behavior? Ethical behavior is the application of moral principle in a given situation. It means to behave according to the moral standards set by the society which we live in. So when it comes to ethical behavior, we see this four perspective. The first one, perspective through individual. Second one, utilitarian, which means the people around us. The third one, justice view, and the fourth one is moral rights. So, individualism view is about does a decision or does the ethical behavior that we made is promote one's long-term self-interest? And then secondly, does the behavior that we make greatest good for the most peoples? Justice view, does a decision show fairness? And lastly, does a decision maintain the fundamental rights of all human beings? Ethical questions can be categorized to 5 primary criteria. The first one, who is viewing the social media information? Secondly, how is the social media information accessed? For what purpose is the social media informed use? What are the criteria one uses for making judgment about social media information? Lastly, what is the nature of relationship in social media? I believe if we use anything, anything like social media, we must be ethical. So this is the tips how to stay ethical using social media. The first one, we must avoid making misleading statement, which means we do not pretend to be whom we are not. And then secondly, do not use inappropriate language of any kind, means inappropriate language that can offensive other people. Lastly, disclose all informational sources we use in our posts or comment, include photo credits. Make sure list all sources that we use to produce our own material. So the issues that related to ethical in social media, I take the issues of 13 May 1969 that happened during general election 15 in Malaysia. TikTok have uploaded 3 videos of May 13, 1969 that caused racial issues to occur. The video was paid for intended purpose to create argument with one another. These 13 main issues can be categorized as ethical because it makes the TikTok makes misleading information statement. So that from that ethical issue, MCMC one Malaysian citizen, PDRM and MCMC urging the public to refrain from uploading and sharing social media with sensitive issue about race and religion. And then to refrain from airing hurtful statement that involve race and religion shortly after the election ended. MCMC also remind users not to spread the content to other social media platform, and users urged to immediately report to the authorities if they receive content that was insult religion and racism. So that's the end of my session. If you have any questions regarding my issues, can QR and ask the questions.
Like there are a few questions. For the first question, since social media news spreads as fast as lightning, are there any strategies to avoid blindly accepting everything we read on social media?
Uh, I think yes. The most crucial and simple step is fact checking. This can be accomplished by reading or looking for information concerning the issue to determine whether or not they are true. We cannot easily trust the any statement unless they are made by someone the expert to it. And that's all.
Okay. For the next question, can you express yourself about negative reviews about social media?
Yes. Can I express myself? Negative reviews about social media. Yes, for me. If you see something negative reviews on social media, we should let it go or not take too serious about negative that we saw on social media because it can it can influence your mood or you you can be someone negative. So for me, how I handle the negative reviews is I just let it go and not take too serious, and I believe in myself and I don't believe what I saw in social media.
Okay, thank you for the answer. For the next question is, how to prevent cyberbullying?
Okay, thank you for the questions. My opinion, how to I prevent cyberbullying is not write anything that we don't know. I mean, do not be a keyboard warrior. Cyberbullying, I believe, it start from the keyboard warrior uh who write anything that they like without they don't know what the truth is. And then not take seriously the comments you saw, uh, not thinking too much about that. So yeah, do not be a keyboard warrior. Do not be a keyboard warrior or write something unnecessary to other because we don't know the things that we wrote can affect someone else. So I prevent from cyberbullying is not being a keyboard warrior.
Thank you for the answer. So for the next question, how to prevent fake news from being spread in social media?
How to prevent fake news from being spread in social media? First, what I do is I make sure the news is correct or not. I see the resource about it. I Google it before I post it in social media. Everybody should um, study first the issues is about before we proceed in posting in social media. So from that, we can prevent fake news from being spread in social media because I believe a keyboard warrior, lots of keyboard warrior spreading fake news on social media. So in order to prevent that, we must examine what had happened, what actually happened on that issue before we conclude, before we jump into a conclusion.
Okay, thank you for your answer. There are okay. For the next question, What do you think about social media?
What I think about social media, I think social media is fun and fine unless there is come lots of people who, I mean like people who not responsible, and the people who do not know how to use social media and how to handle social media. I think social media is really fun if we know how to handle and we know how to use. And it's fine if we know how to being a user who had ethical on using that. And I believe everyone of us like social media, like Instagram. We like Instagram, right? TikTok. I love TikTok. So I think social media is fun. We can share anything. We can share our information. We can looking for a job opportunity on there, like Job Street. Social media have lots of functions that we can use on our daily life. Social media is also help us to complete or accomplish our task. For example, we as a student, of course, we use lots of social media like WhatsApp, Telegram. Especially me and my friends and the student, I normally use Telegram to send videos to my friends to compile the video assignment. So I think social media have lots of function for us, especially student. So social media is fun and fine. How do you guys think? Is it good?
I think it's good. Okay, thank you for your answer. For the next question, is social media safe or not?
Like I said in my slide, social media has pros and cons. That means is social media can be safe and sometimes social media can be not safe. For example, if we share too much our info mm, about ourselves, for example, we share too much image, our personal information like where we live, our phone number, it not not safe if we being a user who like to share too much information. I mean like unnecessary information. It can be not safe for ourselves. If we know how to use and we know how to be a good and ethical users, obviously it can be safe for us. So do not share too much information in social media.
Okay, for the next question, is social media is important for this generation?
I think social media is very important for our generation, especially uh, in this era, because most of things that we do in our daily life using gadget. Uh, for example, okay, we as student, obviously computer is important for us. So in computer, of course, I have a social media. So social media is very uh, important for this generation to use since technology become wild from day to day, because through social media we can do anything, everything, connect with people, accomplish our assignment, everything, basically everything. So I think social media is quite important. surely it's important.
Okay, thank you for the answer. Okay, right now I think there are a lot of questions, but we have not enough time for our next slot. So the other question will be bring to the end of the event. I think we can proceed to our next presenter. Thank you, Hazwani, for sharing about social media ethical issues.
Thank you so much.
Without wasting time, I will count the third and the last presenter for today, Muhammad Shahril bin Abdul Aziz, to give his presentation about plagiarism issues. Please welcome.
So hello everyone and good morning. So first of all, I would like to thanks to the organizer for making this program happen. So for today's presentation, I'm gonna talk about the plagiarism issues. So I'm pretty sure everyone is familiar with plagiarism issues, right? Especially as a university student. So the objective for this topic here is to educate the student about the plagiarism and how to avoid them. Right? So let's show us our content here. So for this topic, we're gonna talk about the 6 parts here. So we're gonna talk about what is the definition of plagiarism, types of plagiarism, examples of plagiarism, strategies, which citation styles to use for citation, and tools recommendation for plagiarism checker. All right. And so let's begin with our first part here. So what is plagiarism? So plagiarism is the act of presenting, giving, or submitting ideas or words in any language without providing credit or acknowledgement to the source. So it can consider as a plagiarism when you copy someone's work, for example, like words, sound, images, creative expression. So that thing can consider as a plagiarism. So keep that in mind. Okay. So next. So why is it important to understand plagiarism? So the reason is plagiarism is stealing of intellectual property, cheating, an academic offense, and academic theft. So for example, I can give it to you. For example, like you as a student, you work hard to get a good grade for your project or assignment, but suddenly you find out that your classmate copies someone's idea to put it into his project or assignment, and he got the better grades than you. So it's totally unfair, right? So that's why it is important to understand the plagiarism and avoid plagiarism. So next. So now there are 2 types of plagiarism. We have intentional plagiarism and unintentional plagiarism. So intentional, you do it on purpose. So for example, you copying a friend's word, you buying or borrowing papers, copy and paste. So that's normal. Then you copy and paste from electronic sources. You media borrowing without documentation or giving the credits to the original source. You downloading any source from internet and presenting as your own words. So that one is the intentional plagiarism. So the next one is the unintentional plagiarism. So this one you did not do it on the purpose, but when you do your documentation, you are actually careless at paraphrasing. You have a poor documentation, you quoting excessively, and failure to use your own voice. So that is why when you want to take from another source, you need to make sure that you use the right strategy to avoid plagiarism. You must cite the source and everything. All right. So later on, I will explain on that part on how to avoid plagiarism. This is the example of plagiarism that happens. So for the first case here, this happens in Malaysia, where the editor of Malaysia newspaper, the Newsrat Times, if you guys know, was accused that he plagiarized the work of an American journalist. So this editor of Malaysia newspaper, okay, so he copied the whole paragraph. So that is pretty obvious, like that he plagiarized. So that is why this editor of Malaysia was accused that from plagiarism. So this is for the case 1 here. So for the second case here, this happened in Spain, where the head of university, if I'm not mistaken, at Madrid, Spain, yes, if I'm not mistaken, he was accused for repeatedly copying someone's idea and not giving them credit. He was a head of university, right? So the punishment for this head of university, he was later on removed from National Education Commission for his act for plagiarism. Okay, so next. So why do students plagiarize? So this is the common examples like excuses from the student. So the reason is everyone does it. My parents expect an A's for me. I was too busy with job and many more. I think you can get more excuses from this slide. Okay, so I'm pretty sure that even you are busy from doing your job or everything, you have a family problem. So plagiarize is not the answer for your solution. So make sure that always when you want to use someone's idea, make sure you refer to the right source and do the right citation. So, the next one. So be aware of what plagiarism is and proceed cautiously. So you must cite person word even the person is alive or dead if it's not your own idea. So always cite even the person is alive or dead. So it doesn't mean that even that person is dead, you can use his idea and claim it as your own. So that is against the law, right? So that is why you need to cite even the person is alive or dead. And the next one. So if you paraphrase a piece of word, then you must give a citation. So that is normal. Like paraphrase is not enough. Paraphrase is enough for you to avoid plagiarism. So then you must give a right citation. And the last one. So if you take an image from the internet or any source, you must cite the source. So like I mentioned at the definition part. So plagiarism can come in type of word, images, sound, and creative expression. So yeah, so keep that in mind. So do you have to cite everything? So the answer is no, because there are things that we call facts that are widely known, such as historical events, current events, so that information or judgment can consider as common knowledge. All right. So for the common knowledge, you do not have to be cited. So let me give you examples here. So examples of common knowledge. So Burj Khalifa is the highest building in the world. So that's true, right? The Burj Khalifa located at the Dubai, that is the highest. And Jupiter is the largest planet. And World War II lasted from 1939 to 1945. So as you can see from this example, sir, this is a historical event and current event that actually occurs right now. Okay, so for common knowledge, you don't have to cite or anything. But if you have any doubt whether do I have to cite from this source or no, just cite it, because sometimes when you, so even from historical events, for example, like from website that you refer to, that website actually have information about the historical events, and you think it's a common knowledge, but and you think that you don't have to be cited, you don't have to put a citation for that resource because it's common knowledge. So if you have any doubt about it, just cite it. Okay, so in case if the original source, the author, use his own words for explanation. So if you have any doubt, just cite the source. So when will you excuse from citing or documenting? So you are excused from citing or documenting when you presenting your original ideas, your own summary, observation, experience, your original ideas, right? So of course your original ideas you don't have to cite because it comes from you. So you are the original author, if you know what I mean, right? So same things, using common knowledge and using generally facts of information. So that is the point where you can excuse from citing or documenting. Okay, so from this slide you can see that there's a conversation between the student and the professor. Yeah, So the student asks, if I change a few words, am I okay? Am I okay, right? So the professor answered that wrong. So paraphrasing original ideas without documenting your source is plagiarism too. So as I mentioned earlier, paraphrasing is not enough. So you must cite your documenting your source. Right. So this for this part we're gonna talk about the strategies that you can avoid the plagiarism. So you can use these three strategies. So the first strategy is summarizing. The second one paraphrasing, and the third one is a quotation. So keep in mind when you use this strategy, make sure to blend your source materials in your own and make sure your own voice is heard. Okay, so if you know its meaning, so make sure you use your own words and everything for your source, for your materials. So let's talk about the first strategy here. So sorry about that. So for quotation, so we're gonna use the quotation to support your arguments and add credibility to your research paper. So for quotations here, we have four points here. So the first one, it must be identical to the original, match the source document word for word. So, and the second one, you put quotation marks around the original outer exact words. So later on I will explain on how the quotation strategy works. So so the third one, must reference the original source. So that is normal, of course. And the fourth one, include the page number of the original source. So the next slide I will show you the example how the quotation works. So let's see from from this example, okay, we can see interpreting these results. First thing first, when we citing, we need to mention the author surname, okay? So author surname, and then the date of the publication, 2003 here, and then suggested that for this strategy we use the quotation, right? So for inside the quotation here, so all of this inside the quotation here until at the end of this one, okay? So this inside the quotation is this is the original words from that source that you mentioned for your word. So this is the original word, so that's why you put the double quotation. And then after you close the double quotation here, you will mention the page number of the source that you refer to. So this one here, you show the page number 551. Okay. And the next strategy is paraphrasing. So I'm pretty sure everyone is normally use the paraphrasing method here. So paraphrasing is presenting someone ideas and information in your own words or language. So for paraphrasing, the paraphrased material is shorter than the original passage. So the original source that you refer must be shorter than the original passage. So you need to make it compare and deliver what you want to express. So the second one, must use your own words. So of course, paraphrasing. And then the last one, must reference the original source. So same point here. So I will show you the examples here. So this is the example from the original source from Lizzie Borden. So this is the long passage, right? So it's long and not compact. So this is the original one. So this is before paraphrasing. So after paraphrasing, it will become like this. So as you can see, a lot of difference from the before and after paraphrasing. So long passage and shorter passage, short passage and compact. So same thing here, you just capture the key points that you want to explain and put into your work. And of course, at the end of the paraphrasing, you need to mention the author's surname, need to mention the author surname and the date of publication. Okay, so next here. And the last strategy here is summarizing. So the summarizing is the author's original words are rewritten into a substantially shortened form that highlights the key point here. So for summarizing, the text is much shorter than the original text. So same with the paraphrase before, you need to make it short and compact. And the second one must use your own words, usually with very limited use of quotations here. So you can use the summarizing and the quotation together, but in very limited use. And the third one, same thing here, you must reference the original source. And this is the before using the summarizing method. So this one is a long passage, same thing with the paraphrase before. It's a long one, it's a long passage and you need to make it. So for the summarizing, you need to make it shorter and capture the key point that you require to put it into your assignment or project. So this one, this slide, this is the before using the summarizing method. And this is after. So as you can see here, honestly, the author surname here and the date of publication argue that, so this all of this until at the end of this passage, this is the key point that you need. So you only capture the key points that you want to put it into your work. And below here, this is how you reference for the summarize method. So same here, you mention the you mention the author surname, date of publication, and the topic here, the topic of the source that you refer to, and the page, from what page to what page that you refer. So now for in-text citation styles, so as you can see here, whenever you paraphrase, summarize, or quote from a particular source, you have to do in-text citation. So an in-text citation is you put the in-text citation inside the body of the text, where it consists of author's name and date of publication. Or you can include page number if there is a direct quotation. So for example here, you can see from here. So a study conducted by the Bright and Wheaton here. So author's name. So check. And then the date of publication, 1984. So check. And suggested a significant relationship between and so on. So that's the key point that you capture. Or you can use alternatively, you can use another method where you put a author surname at the beginning of the sentences, right? So for example here, so from this example like before, we put it between the sentences here. So study conducted by Bright and Wheaton and the date of publication. And for another method here, alternative, you can put it in front at the beginning of the sentences. Because why? Because the author's name and the date of publication can be a subject of the sentence, following with the date only following in bracket. And for citation styles here, normally for students, university students, we use a APA style, American Psychological Association, and the Harvard style. So normally for APA styles, most of the faculty that use APA style is accountant faculty, creative industries, Institute of Chinese, Faculty of Arts, Social Science, and Business. So this faculty here normally use APA style for their citation. And for the Harvard style here, mostly Harvard style used for engineering, student science, Faculty of Science, Institute of Engineering and Green Technology, and Information and Communication Technology. So this is the citation style used for this faculty, Harvard style. All right. So for the last part, we're going to talk about the tools recommendation here. So As we all know, Turnitin is a famous plagiarism checker, and it is a paid version one. So of course, but the reason I recommendation for Turnitin app because it has a huge database for over like 70 billion over assignment, project, articles, journal articles, many more for 70 billion. So you can use the Turnitin to check your plagiarism, and the second one, it has a huge accuracy result. So when you use the plagiarism checker in a Turnitin, you can produce the result that give you a good result for your plagiarism checker. And the next one, the Turnitin. So right after you use the plagiarism checker, it will produce an instant feedback or report after checking. So it will show you what is the problem, the plagiarism in percentage, the grammatical errors, spelling, punctuation, and many more. So for Turnitin, it has a better security where there's a limit submission. So if you spam the submission over and over again, it will flags. So because it's cause a suspicious, to avoid from any suspicious submission that is can bad for security, on program. And the last one for Turnitin, it can save time and support ethical writing. So that is for the paid version one. And the second tools here is a Grammarly. So I know you guys know the Grammarly one. So Grammarly can offer the premium one and the free version one. So for the free version one, of course you can see the result, what is wrong, but it has a very limited features where you need to buy the premium one for the Grammarly to highlight the which plagiarism is wrong, the grammatical errors here. So that is for the free version one, okay. But if you have a premium version one, it will provide the real-time grammar and spelling checking features. So same with the Turnitin, it provide the real-time grammar and spelling here. And Grammarly here, the user interface is easy to understand and provide easy to understand explanation. So it will provide the result for students or for people that use the plagiarism checker knows which part there are errors when you cite the source. So for the Grammarly here, there's no limit submission. So compared to the Turnitin, so Turnitin have a better security where it's gonna flag the suspicion submission, while the Grammarly here have no limit submission. So that's the end for my presentation. Thank you for listening to my presentation. So if you have a question regarding with this topic, you can scan these QR codes and I will try my best to answer it. Okay. So we have the first question here. So what are the problems I have to face without citing about my presentation? So So I'm pretty sure you are. So you, as a student here, if you don't plagiarize, like I mentioned in the why do plagiarism is important, if you do not cite your documentation, so you as a university student, so you might get suspended or you might get academic. So you might get a punishment where you get your bad grade, you got suspension. So it's bad for your, for your research purpose. And that's why when you as a student here, make sure you always avoid the plagiarism here, to ensure that you don't get suspended or get fail from your lecture. So that is why it is important to cite you must do the documentation. It's not actually you as a, it's not only as a student but as a journal article or journalist, newspaper editor of the newspaper, they also have to cite they have also have to documentation, use the documentation to refer to their original source and give it the acknowledgement about the ideas that they're borrowing. Okay, so is that okay? Right, so that's the answer for that question here. And so, and then you have, I heard that some plagiarism checkers can be unreliable. Oh, yeah. Wait, keep refreshing. Yeah. So how to avoid this type of plagiarism to make sure? So anonymous here. So how to avoid this type of plagiarism to make sure that it giving credit to my own previous work? Well, it's giving credit to my own. So that's the thing we call the self-plagiarism here. So when someone use their own work as for their another assignment or anything, you must giving the citation. You must give the citation for your work, even if it's your own work, your original ideas. You must give the citation for your documentation. So to ensure that it's a originality from your for your research purposes. So in order to avoid the plagiarism, like from this question here, so always cite always documentation the source, even it is yours, by providing, like I mentioned here, you need to provide the author surname, date of publication. So if you use the quotation method that I mentioned from the presentation before, you need to provide, so inside quotation you need to provide the original words, the source word from word, and the page numbers there. So that is why always when if you want to use your own word as for your next references, so always cite. So same thing. So even you want to refer to the original source or your own source, you 100% you need to cite your source. Okay. So the next question here, I heard plagiarism is presenting someone else hours here. For the research that I use citation for religious documents and sermons at school, and how to avoid hypocrisy, we can't do this. If I want something, okay. Okay, let's see. So what are the problems I have this? So the next question here. I heard that some plagiarism checkers can be unreliable. Is it okay to use one of these tools to check your work? So if you have any doubt if the tools is produce the accurate result or no, so make sure that I mentioned earlier, use the procedure or strategy that I mentioned from before from my presentation. Use the procedure to cite your source. So make sure that author's name, I mean that like I mentioned earlier, normally you will use two things, author's name and date of publication. So you must always have these two things. And when you use the someone resource, always verifies. So if you not verifies and you put it into the plagiarism tools checker, that is why there's a chance that high percentage will occur if you do not change of words. So that's why you need to verify, make it to the shorter passage, use your own words, mention the author surname and date of publication. So that is the tips to tackle how to cite the source. So keep that in mind. So 3 things there. Okay, that's the next question there. So the next question here, how to regular is renting for research that is. Yeah, I have to refresh, see if there's another. For research I use. Tell me about a time in the project. Tell me about a time or assignment didn't go as planned. So from Matava here, again, tell me about a time when a project or assignment didn't go as planned. So I'm not sure. Tell me about a time when a project or assignment didn't go as planned. So what I trying to say is that tell me about. Yeah, wait, never mind. Didn't go as planned. So what are the punishment for plagiarism? Just like I mentioned earlier. So you as a student, you get suspension or you get a fail result from your lecturer. And so it depends. That one is for students. So if there's a journal article or anything like I mentioned from the case before that happens in Malaysia, it depends. If the original author want sue the plagiarized guy to the court, it's up to him. So it can be a punishment about a fine or jail. It's up to the how the laws work. Okay, so that's for that question there. Okay, the plagiarism. So plagiarism 7-3. Alright, so ito on je. So we have another question here. So plagiarism. So another onlymous here. So plagiarism is presenting someone else's work or ideas as your own. So as I mentioned before, so from the definition, so plagiarism is when you use someone's ideas and put it in and claim it like you own the source. So that is why plagiarism is always a problem, especially as a student when the student don't know how to cite and when how to refer and documentation the source. Okay. So recent. So for the recent one here, how much plagiarism is allowed? So how much plagiarism is allowed in a research paper? So normally, I mean the lower the percentage of the plagiarism percentage, the better. So for example, like from my previous experience, my final year project, the requirement for the percentage on the plagiarism percentage is below 20%. So sometimes you use the direct quotation like I mentioned from that strategy there. So direct quotation, you will use the exact word for word from the original source. So that is why sometimes the tools cannot be 100% reliable, because sometimes it will produce the inaccurate result for your plagiarism checker. So it's better for you to use your own words. So you have a backup. So you cite the source and you documenting it, your source, manually yourself. So by using the strategy that I mentioned before, or if you can use another backup, you can use the plagiarism checker to check the grammatical error, spelling, which line that the exact word from the original source. So that's the answer for that question there. So what manipulation? If I write something else wrote, but I didn't know they wrote it, is that still? So if I write something somebody else already wrote, but I didn't know they wrote it, is that still plagiarism? Yes, because because there's the things that sometimes when the original source share someone copying it the ideas and put it into his word, but that person that, so how do I explain? Okay, so for example, so this one is the original source here. So this guy here, he copy this guy ideas, copy and put it into his word. So at the same time, this guy who copy this guy's ideas did not get caught, and you refer the information, your resource from this, and you didn't and from this source it doesn't show who is the author, surname and date of publication. So for that part, you need to make a research, and you need to search at the Google and everything to search the real author, surname and the date of publication for the source that you refer to. So that's still plagiarism, even there's no plagiarism. So like I say that the source that you are refer to, if there is no resource, that is still not your word. So because why? Because that is not the original word from you. So unless if that is the original word from you, then you can use it. If you know what I mean, right? And let's see, recent 10 question more. How to avoid disparagement? I hate that question. What are the problems I have to? Jap. Turn on, okay? Minit ya? Hah? Okay. Okay. Tu lah. So I think that is all for our Q&A session. I will pass it to the moderator to continue with our program.
Thank you, Muhammad Sharil, for answering the question and sharing the plagiarism issue. Now the end of third slot, we have provided some questions for you guys to answer in Google Form, and we will discuss your answer after 5 minutes. In the meantime, if you have any further questions, please do not hesitate to ask in the Q&A box, and our speakers will answer your question. Okay, as you can see, the link, Google Form link have been set in our Q&A box, so you may answer the question. After 5 minutes, we will discuss the answer.
Sorry?
Yang Q&A ni, speaking English ni okey tak?
Okey. Cuma siapa cover ni? Siapa cover? Siapa yang akan cerita MC? Jawapan ni.
Jawapan speakers ni.
Speakers ni akan tolong.
So, klik play. Dia ada jawapan.
Tak confirm.
Kita orang, ni kita kasi jawapan kita orang.
Ada yang dah submit ke? Saya check. Ada ke tak ada langsung? Saya takut lama sangat lah. Dr. Musin tak? Dr. Musin.
Kan dari
Dah ada dah. Then you all conclude je lah. You all conclude. Dia dah ada dalam ni. Dalam ni masuk.
jangan aku. Jangan kita apa lagi tapi dia ada standby dah. Masuk.
Maksudnya you let dia masuk.
Sedih buka point.
Okay, time's up. Let's invite Mr. Zulhelmi to discuss your answer.
So the question that we ask is give one simple example of the difference between copyright and patent. So copyright works are such as text, image, music, and sound, or even movies. But for the patent, copyright works are text, images, music, and sound, or even movies. As for patent, for example, when the first telephone was invented and patented by Alexander Graham Bell, this could be the simplest example if you want to differentiate between patent and also copyright. Now, for the second question is, what do you understand about intellectual property from your perspective? So, from my own perspective, intellectual property is a wide term for the collection of intangible assets. Intellectual property is a wide term for the collection asset, while they are also held and legally protected by a firm or individual from unauthorized use or an intangible asset is also a non-physical asset owned by a firm or individual. That's all for the answer.
Okay, thank you, Zulhelmi, for your answer. Next, we invite Next, we invite Hazwani to discuss your answer.
Uh, for the questions regarding social media ethical issues, the first question is how can one remain ethical on social media? The answer is we can remain ethical on social media by avoiding from creating incorrect or misleading statement. For example, if we make a false statement about health, any individual may come to believe this false story, causing them to make action that are dangerous to their health. Secondly, one of the cons in using social media is it leads to health problems. Give one simple example to explain more. The use of social media also can cause anxiety, increase the anxiety, stress, depression, and body image. Concern, loneliness that later become worse due to the high pressure of image shown in social media that are different to reality. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Hazwani, for sharing your answer. Now, let's invite Mr. Muhammad Sharil to discuss your answer.
So for the plagiarism responses here, so we can see for the first question, the so the first question here is a citation is very important, especially when writing a report. So however, there are few cases where we are not required to cite. So for the first answer that I received is we are not required to cite when we present our own ideas using general facts and writing our own summary in an assignment. So that is true. So that is why. So make sure. So there's a cases like common knowledge, historical events, current events. So that things you don't have to cite. But if you have any doubt whether to cite or not, just cite the resource. And the second answer, historical and common knowledge. So that is true also. So that's that's all for the question one. So for the question two, so why is it important to cite? So the first answer, yeah. So for the answer, it is important to cite a source as we are using someone else's ideas for our research purposes by giving them credit for acknowledging their ideas. Okay, so when we are mentioning someone else's ideas, make sure by giving them credits and giving them credits and cite their source to ensure that the original author can acknowledging his ideas. So and the second answer here, citation is important as it shows that we refer someone else. Jap. Laptop tutup. So yep, we have a technical issues here, so might take some time. Sorry about that since we have a difficult issues here. So from the third question here, it seems that there's no one asking if there's no one asking for other question regarding this topic. So I think that's the end for our Q&A session. So I will pass to the moderator here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Muhammad Sharif, for sharing your answer. Ladies and gentlemen, with the end of the talk from our three speakers and Q&A session, we have come to the last agenda for today. Now, we would like to invite NETCOM Club Advisor, Dr. Mohsen bin Muhammad Hatta, to give a speech. Please welcome.
Okay, Assalamualaikum and very good afternoon. First and foremost, thank you all for your participation in the international webinar IT Ethical Issues, Perspective and Reality today. So we hope that you have gained a greater understanding of the importance of IT ethics and the role it plays in our daily life. I would like to thank all who have been involved in this program, especially to our respected guest, Dr. M. Rajkumar, the principal of JP College of Engineering, for providing cooperation to make this program a wonderful success. Thank you all to all of the speakers for sharing their knowledge for this webinar, which give a lot of benefits and knowledge to all of the students. From online privacy and security to responsible social media use, we cover a range of important topics during this program. We encourage you to reflect on how you can apply what you learn here in your social and work activities. Upon the completion of this webinar, it is hoped that awareness of IT ethical issues can be spread among the students so that the morality and ethical issues in IT can be highlighted and practiced frequently. Once again, I would like to thank all of you for making today's webinar program a success. Your participation and enthusiasm have been contagious and have made this event truly special and meaningful. To continue learning about IT ethics, be sure to check out the resources and tools that we shared during the program. You can also stay up to date on best practices by following industry news outlets or taking online courses. Before we wrap up, we want to thank all our speakers and special guests for their valuable insight and contribution to this program. We hope that you have all gained valuable experience, skills, connection, and will take the memories of this event with you. We look forward to seeing you all again in the future events. From UiTM, we want to thank all of you for being a part of this memorable international program. I hope that we will continue to collaborate in the future programs and events together. Thank you and have a very good evening.
Thank you, Dr. Mohsen, for the heartwarming speech just now. Before we put this program into an end, let us all celebrate with another photography session. Everyone, once again, please turn on your webcam and put on your best smiles. Okay, fine. 1, 2, 3. Okay, one more. 1, 2, 3. Smiles. Okay, freestyle. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, this program has finally come to its end. Once again, thank you everyone for gracing this program with your presence. I, Aina Nazahar binti Muhammad Noor, would like to take the chance to seek for your apology for any wrongdoing or mistake throughout our session today. Thank you.